boys and girls. Well, as we close out our forest unit, we're going to take a walk with nature. And we're going to go with a little girl and her grandfather on the Pinecone Walk. Something unique I know about the word pinecone is that it is a compound word. A compound word means that I have two words and I put them together to make one word. So we have the word pine and we have the word cone. And when I put them together, I get pinecone. So we're going on the Pinecone Walk with a little girl and her grandfather. And it's written by Barbara Springfield and it's illustrated by Patty Bassard Jefferson. So let's go for a walk with Grandpa and the little girl. My grandfather said to me, "Let's go on a pinecone walk. We will look for treasures as we go. Keeping quiet, we must not talk." Hey, walk, talk. What are those two words? You're right, they rhyme. We bundled into our jackets and pushed our hats down tight. We pulled on our boots, opened the door, and stepped out into the morning light. Hey, tight, light. Rhyme again. And we walked on. We walked along quietly, not making a sound. The first treasures we found were right on the ground. What have they found? You're right, animal tracks. Tracks made by an early morning deer, probably heard us and ran off in fear. A stick that looked like an old man's cane. And then we found beside the trail a long ago turtle had left its shell. A stone washed clean by yesterday's rain, and we walked on. The next treasure was something to hear and to spy, the sound of a red-tailed hawk swooping nearby. And we walked on. We walked over logs, around bushes and trees, hoping to find the next treasure to seize. When you seize something, it means that you take it, you grab it. It wasn't long before we heard way up high the chattering of squirrels as they rushed by. They were searching for their hidden treasure, nuts and corn. Some were still sleeping on this very cold morn. Morn is a short word for morning. And we walked on. And there on the path that the wind had blown by lay an abandoned bird nest made out of horsehair and rye. The next treasure we found was a feather so light it had fallen from a bird in flight. I took off my hat and stuck it in my hair. Grandfather said, "You should leave it there." And we walked on. It wasn't long before we could tell the next treasure had a wonderful smell. The smell of pine trees as they stood along the pond and the pine straw carpet that our boots walked on. So when they were talking about the pine straw carpet, they're talking about all the pine needles that fell off the tree and landed on the ground. And now they're walking on it and it's soft like carpet. And there they were, pine cones everywhere, big ones and small ones, enough for the forest to share. We gathered them in our basket and carried them home that day, keeping all the treasures we had found along the way. We see that there's some pine cones that are closed and some that are open and some that are broken off pieces. Lots of different kinds of pine cones there. And as we sat in our kitchen that night, beside the stove that our pine cones helped light, we remembered the sights we had seen on the way. But to me, the very best treasure was being with my grandfather that day. So they used some of the pine cones to help keep the fire going. Pine cones make a very roasty, toasty fire. A good one for roasting and toasting marshmallows on. Here's the end. So pine cones are a very versatile tool. You can use them to make arts and crafts, and you can use them as fuel to help your fire keep going. Think if you can think of other ways that we can use a pine cone. What can you do with a pine cone? Can you draw a pine cone? Scroll down and you'll see some interesting things that you can do with a pine cone.